Hi guys, Mr. Molly here from Active Martial Arts, and I want to give you guys some tips to do better on your form at the tournament. So, when you're practicing at home on your form, this is one of the things that is going to make the biggest difference. It's going to be your front stance, okay? Every form has a front stance in it, and every time we judge at testing, that's one of the biggest things we notice is it's difficult to practice your front stance correctly, and it's difficult to perform it correctly. So, here's what we're going to start off. I have these marked off as shoulder width apart. This is as wide as my shoulders. That's as wide as my front stance needs to be. So if one of the movements in your form is a front stance, your feet need to be as wide as your shoulders. It is 4 foot lengths forward. So starting with this one, I can count 2, 3, 4. That's my 4 foot lengths. So I still need to be as wide as my shoulders. If you can see, I'm in the line. I'm not in line, I'm off the line. It's kind of like if I was on railroad tracks and I was stepping. Have to have that space. What do people do in their form? This is what the front stance ends up looking like. They want to step in line when they're doing punches, okay? So we're trying to make sure everything is shoulder width apart. Another tip with your front stance that you can watch for is their rear foot. I'm going to move these out of the way so you can see my feet. But the closer you can get your rear foot to pointing to the front, the better. So if I'm stepping out in the front stance here, and I've got this right foot pointing to the front, that's excellent. Not everybody can do that. It's a little uncomfortable for some. You can get away with this, and it's all right. Just put a little bit of an angle on it like this, like a 45. No more than a 45. If you start going out here, which a lot of people end up doing, what happens is now you aren't driving forward anymore in your stance. You can't push forward. You can only push backwards or this way. So that's not what we're doing. This isn't a front stance. That is a front stance. So we're trying to keep everything to the front. Another common mistake people do in their front stance is they'll have their lower body correct, but the upper body will be off. And it's either this way or this way. Don't overextend into a technique. Don't underextend into a technique like this. Shoulders should be square. When you're looking at yourself in the uniform, you should see both your shoulders squarely, everything even. If you have your logo on your uniform, you should be able to see that clearly. It shouldn't be hidden, shouldn't be at the side like this. So everything stays straight. My punches, if they're medium, they're going to go in the center of the body right here. This is not the center of your body. This is another common mistake. If you're doing a technique, let's say I'm doing a spear hand. I'm doing my spear hand. It is in the center of my body. If you can see that, it's aimed for the solar plexus, not the center of my shoulder. So one of the things you can do if you're practicing, if you have somebody who's working with you, or let's say you're practicing with your child, you can line up right next to them as they're doing their front stance and get on their level and see if their punch is hitting in the center of the body or if it's hitting over off to the shoulder. Because that is not what we're looking for in the tournament. Closer to the center, the better. Now if it's a high punch, it should be even with your face. Okay? So every form has a different level that the punches are done at. So if you take these tips when you're practicing with your front stance and implement them, you're going to get a much better score at the tournament.